In this video, Bart Ehrman, he's an agnostic historian, points out a few claims made because Justin Bass, he's a evangelical Christian, and he points out some claims that he believes are important and significant. If you want to accept the claims of the resurrection of Jesus, you have to take into account claims of others.
And so my issue with this kind of bedrock thing is whether it's appropriate to consider these kinds of claims outside of other claims for other religious figures. Do we treat them equally, or do we provide a kind of do we say, well, it's more likely true because it's in the Bible and less likely true if it's in the Mormon tradition?
Bart makes it clear that if you're going to assume this one side of the story, you have to be able to accept the others. And if you don't, why do you accept them? Is it because they're in the Bible?
I agree with Deuteronomy. We shouldn't trust anything unless it's at least 2 or 3 witnesses. So we have 4 that you agree with. You know, in Christianity, when it comes to Mormonism, again, Joseph Smith is the only person to say that Moroni appeared to him, and he said Jesus and God the Father and a lot of other strange things.
I'm not sure, Justin.
But only one person, only one eyewitness in both those cases, both those religions you brought up. But I'd like to hear the evidence.
Well,
for the Greek and Roman.
I don't know if
Justin claims, like, well, you got Paul and you got all these other people saying that they saw the resurrection of Jesus, but saying, well, there was only one person that saw the angel Moroni, and that's Joseph Smith. And that's an obvious ignorance to Latter-day Saint theology and to what we teach and what we believe principally.
Greek
I don't
and
know.
Roman.
I don't know if you've studied Mormonism very much.
Oh, I've studied a lot.
There are 11 eyewitnesses, and they
To the golden plate.
Yes. Just saying, if you're a historian,
Yeah.
and what you're doing is you're saying we're going to trust eyewitnesses.
Okay, I'm fine with them seeing golden plates, but what does that tell
4
us?
of them say they saw Moroni give them to him. 4 saw him. Who actually signed affidavits. When they abandoned Joseph Smith, they continued to say that they saw Moroni. So, do you credit those? I'm just saying, are you being impartial, or are you saying it's more likely because these are biblical witnesses? In those cases, by the way, we actually have their testimony.
Okay.
And it's within 100 years.
Yeah, but
so
it's good enough.
With the New Testament, you don't have Peter's testimony, or James's testimony, or the 500, so you don't have, you've got Paul.
As a Latter-day Saint, I do not deny the resurrection of Jesus. I believe Jesus lived, died, and rose from the dead, like Paul said, that he might bring salvation for us. I do not deny that. And in the Book of Mormon, it teaches that Jesus rose from the dead. I just think, as an evangelical Christian, you'd be ignorant to say that, well, it's bedrock that Jesus rose from the dead, and you have all these people saying it, but then deny the claims of Joseph Smith and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. If you examine it with an open heart, you will come to know, the same way that everyone else does, that Joseph Smith was not lying, that he was telling the truth, and that these claims are significant, and it hinders on eternal salvation that you know this is true. And if you don't, you're going to be in trouble. Bart Ehrman's agnostic, so he doesn't hold to the same worldviews as I do, but I believe that his perspective is very accurate. And I appreciate Justin for taking the time to talk to him, because it's hard talking to people that aren't Christian about Christian theology. Missionaries for our church do it all the time, and it's rough. And people do it all the time anywhere. But it's important to note that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints believes that Jesus Christ rose from the dead. The double standard between evangelical Christians and Joseph Smith and the Latter-day Saint perspective, that they're going to take that out because they just don't agree with it, even though it's just as significant and just as historically backable as the resurrection of Jesus, if not more.